evening, everybody and person way up there, which is highly unusual. Nice to see we have a full house tonight. The City of Peabody Zoning Board of Appeals meets tonight in accordance with the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40A, and other applicable laws. Tonight's hearing will be conducted in the following manner. I'm going to read this a little bit, and then I'm going to explain it in regular terms. The Secretary will read the legal notice or state that such notice has been waived. All applications will be heard in the order they were received in the City Clerk's office or as otherwise designated by the Chair. Tonight, everything will be heard in order. The petition or petitioner's representative will present the subject application to the Board. Our last member will be here in 5 minutes. I can limit the length of all remarks. All parties in interest will be given an opportunity to speak either in favor or in opposition. I heard you. I just wish it would shut off when I want it to. There. Why don't I just tell you how it goes? So you come up to the podium when we call your name. Secretary reads your name, your address, and what you're doing here. You come up to the podium, or your builder, or your legal team, and you tell us exactly what you're doing here. Please remember you are here for dimensional relief. The Board will ask you some questions. We then will open it up to the public. Here's where it gets a little tense, especially with a big crowd. I will say, is there anybody in the audience to speak in favor? Whoever you are, if you want to come up and say, oh, I'm in favor of John Smith building this addition because it doesn't interfere with my life, that's fine. We don't want to hear really much more than that. We don't want to hear what he does for a living, how long you've known him, how great his wife cooks. We don't want to know any of that. You're here for dimensional relief, and we want to know why you're in favor of him building whatever it is. We then will say, is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak in opposition? So there might be anywhere from 3 to 30 people in the audience that would like to speak in opposition. You come up to the podium, you say your name and address for the record. You then tell us why you are opposed to whatever is being built. Once again, I don't care that their leaves fall on your yard. We don't care that their son plays loud music all night. We don't care that their tree in the backyard blocks your sun and that it interferes with your quality of life. We are here for dimensional relief. We need concrete reasons why you are in opposition to your neighbor's building. If we have a lot of people in opposition, and the first 5 people have really said it all, you can come up to the podium, give your name and address, and say, I agree with the first 5 people, or I agree with and you still get credit for that. We really don't want to be redundant on and on and on and on and on. This is going to be a big meeting, and believe me, we don't want to be here till midnight. Although we could if it has to be. At that point, you, the petitioner, or your legal team, or your builder, or whoever can come back to the podium, and they can talk about what a neighbor has said they opposed. Do not speak from your seat. I say this every meeting, and every meeting, somebody from the audience decides that they remembered something and they want to shout it out. Please don't do that. If you are up here, anybody, and you go on and on and on about things that are not pertinent, I'll do this and I will stop you. So, and then at that point, if we have any other questions, we'll ask, and then we take a vote. Let's see. Cell phone videotaping of tonight is not allowed. It is illegal. We are on Channel 9 TV. We are being recorded we have had an incident in the past where somebody has taken their cell phone and videoed us. We do not give anyone permission to do that, so please don't do that. All meeting minutes are made public. Hi, Kev. New applications, information, plot plans, renderings, etc. should be passed into the ZBA clerk, Carla, before the deadline. Nothing is accepted tonight. So if you forgot something, if you forgot to pass something in on your packet and you want to pass it in tonight, that's not acceptable. It has to be passed in. We all have to look at whatever it is you have before this evening. And the decision, when we make our decision, either yes or no, it will be typed and filed with the city clerk. Once the decision is filed with the city clerk, there is a 20-day appeal period. You cannot do anything for 20 days. Carla has this very well spelled out for you, so after you are approved or denied, you can see Carla. In compliance with the open meeting law, this hearing is also being recorded by our clerk. When you come to the podium, please speak directly into the microphone, and once again, only speak when you're at the podium. Name and address for the record, and then why you're here. I'm not going to ask if there are any questions. I think I covered it all. So we are going to start. We are all here. We are going to start with number 1 in the game.
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Appeals of the City of Peabody will hold a public hearing on Monday, January 28th, 7 p.m., Wiggin Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, on the application of In the Game, care of Carolyn Parker, for a variance from the provision of the zoning ordinance 2018, as amended, section 1152, as it applies to the premises known as 535 Lowell Street, Peabody, map 35, lot 25. The petitioner is proposing 4 wall signs, where 2 are permitted, and 374.2 square feet, where 75 square feet are permitted. The property is located in a BR zoning district. The application and plot plan are available to the public and can be viewed at the City Clerk's office and Board of Appeals office, City Hall, in advance and prior to the public hearing. The application and plot plan will also be available at the time of the public hearing.
Good evening. My name is Carolyn Parker. I'm here representing Family Entertainment, who is the owners of the new property called In the Game. With me is Ray Smith behind me. He is with Family Entertainment. And also the owner of the property, Alfred Yeba, is also here in case there are questions that I'm unable to answer. Basically, the bylaws state that you are allowed 2 wall signs for a business. You're allowed 20% of the wall area with a maximum of 75 square feet. That's good if you're a single level building, say 50, 75, feet wide by 8 feet high or 10 feet high. But we are a much larger building. We have 9,688 square feet for the 2 wall areas that we're trying to put the signs on. At 20%, that would allow us 1,937 square feet. We're asking for 374 square feet to put up 4 signs. It's basically their, corporate logo for the In the Game. We're looking for 2 signs that say Eat, Play, Repeat. That would be on the front of the building and then on the side of the building. The reason we also need additional signs and square footage is because we also abut Route 95. So we want to, have people be able to see the signs on the side of the building and say, oh, what's that? Let me go check that out.
As a note, you have a freestanding, gigantic sign on Lowell Street that they can see from the top of the sky. So I don't think there's any problem with anybody knowing where In the Game will be. Your freestanding sign on Lowell Street that's been there forever.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so the building is set back 350 feet from the roadway. At 350 feet from the roadway, for normal traffic to be able to see a sign, you could be allowed up to 36 inches for the, letters of the sign. The maximum sign, the eat, run, and play is only 21 roughly inches, and the in-the-game signs are 33 inches, the biggest one, which is on the front of the building, and the one on the side of the building is smaller than that one. So when I filed this application, the main pylon sign was blank and had nothing on it, and I wasn't aware that the sign, in the game was going on that sign. That was determined at a later point. If the people behind, if they'd like to come up and discuss that freestanding sign, we still would like the 4 signs on the building and the additional square footage. The freestanding sign is a multi-tenant sign. I believe we're only getting a third of that sign for our thing. And when I got off the highway coming down Lowell Street, I couldn't see that sign at all because the overpass blocked it.
Okay.
Well, I don't know why, you're giggling and I don't know why.
Because everybody here that lives in the city of Peabody, everybody is familiar with Bonkers.
Okay.
The sign is enormous. It is one of probably the largest sign in the city. You can see it. You have to be blind if you can't see that sign.
Through the chair. Is it bigger or smaller than the illuminated billboards that are right above it that you can see from 95? Just trying to, I can't really remember, but I think there's a billboard at the back of that property that is probably as big as this auditorium.
It's a little further down. It's right by Speedway.
And that sign is grandfathered, that sign, obviously. Nowadays, no one would give that size sign.
Oh, right.
But that doesn't,
Yeah. But
right,
it
but
is
we're
also...
we're also in a multi-tenant facility where the people need to know where to go. There's many businesses in there. So if you put a small little 75 square foot sign that's, 10 feet high, you're not going to be able to see it.
You're talking on the building?
Yes.
Okay. So A, the building is gigantic. The building is very colorful.
Do you not like the building?
No, I don't.
Okay.
But that's neither here nor there.
Well, it seems to be an issue. I'm just
It is
asking.
not an issue, thank you
Okay.
very much.
All right,
There is an issue here, but it's not with me.
okay.
And you're not here, we're not here to discuss
The building.
your big sign that's freestanding, but it is there, and it is very well noticeable. And yes, I understand you want to put these eat, play, repeat on the front of the building.
I guess I would have to ask the owner of the family what they prefer. Would they prefer 4 big, 4 signs on their building and reduce the size of the sign on the freestanding sign? I mean,
The freestanding sign, you're not here for that.
I know,
And
but
it
you
can't- it
keep,
can't be-
keep bringing it
Well,
up.
no, because you
Okay.
keep, I'm not here to argue with you, thank
Okay.
you very much.
All right,
But you
I'm
keep
sorry.
bringing up the fact that you need proper advertising, and you have proper advertising with that freestanding sign.
Okay.
That's all we're going to talk about for the freestanding
Okay.
sign from this point on.
All right. No, but I'd like to see if they wanted to add anything.
Good evening, Ray Smith. I'm the director of Family Entertainment Group, one of the owners of the business. And in terms of, I don't want to get into the meeting. So as it relates to the signage on the building, it's consistent with our brand and our signage on other buildings of similar sizes that we operate across the country. So we're building this in the game brand to be on par with the Dave & Buster's type operation. As our transition from Bonkers, it's a different concept, it's a different customer. While it's still in the entertainment space, it's very critically important for us to find new customers. We don't disagree that Bonkers is a much beloved business and long time standing in the city of Peabody, and we're in the process of relocating that to Saugus because we were unable to find a building that would work for us, in Peabody itself. That was our primary priority, but we were unable to do that. So I think it's critically important that we get this variance to appropriately brand this building and be successful. So we're trying to do a quality business in a town that we like, that we believe likes us a lot and just continue to be a good partner and conduct a business of high quality and caliber within the township. And we think that the signage is very important to bring the new customer in.
So I have a question.
Sure.
Could you explain what eat, play, repeat means?
So it's the concept of, so our business is about entertainment and food and, and bringing back people time and time again to enjoy the entertainment and the quality of the food that we're going to be doing there. So the new business has an expanded entertainment offering beyond the existing Bonkers. And so food is very important. We're going to be leading with a very high quality sit-down restaurant there. So the concept is eat. And then we're going to be playing in the business as well. We've got a ropes course, we have laser tag, we have virtual reality, a lot of other different types of leading edge entertainment. So there's the play part, and repeat is come back as many times as we get you to come back to enjoy our hospitality.
Great. This picture, you have trees in the front here. Do you plan to have those trees? Because it looks like it's all concrete and
Yeah,
hot top.
I do not believe that we're going to be able to landscape there, correct, Al? Yes. So that's
Okay,
a
so that
rendering, so
shouldn't
that's
have
one of the
been there.
versions, okay?
You also don't have all the colors on the wall, on the frontage, the blues and the greens. You have this proposed as a plain facade, and it isn't.
Well, so there's been multiple variations of the building as we've gone through this process over the last couple of years, and I apologize, I don't have, I wasn't responsible for giving you that last package you had there. I apologize for that. So the new building is more dynamic and colorful, and part of that is we've been evolving our brand, colors, and logos since we've taken on this project. For an example, originally, if you went way back in the files, you would see a different name on the buildings. It was Arc at one point, but we've spent a lot of time and money on building the In the Game name. And again, the concept there is that we're going to be transporting people into the game in an immersive experience.
I guess through the chair, before we get to the lighting issues of these signs, can you hear me out better? Okay. So aside from the lighting issues, which we'll get to in a minute,
Okay?
there are two proposed signs on the front of the building,
Okay?
and then there are two proposed signs facing more towards 95, towards Lucky Dogs
Correct.
Daycare. I guess one question I have is, if you were to eliminate those two signs facing 95 on the back side of the property, would you still need a variance from us?
We would, I think, from a square footage basis. From a square footage, yes.
Well, how much of a variance, if you know, would you need just for those front two signs?
And we could do the math quickly.
Sure, yeah. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No problem. No. Probably would make sense. So rough math, right? So I think we're allowed, 75 each sign? So that'd be the
You add up
variance.
like roughly 110.3.
Okay.
That doesn't make-
It doesn't make sense.
Oh, no, wait a minute, I'm sorry, I'm wrong.
Scratch
Wrong
that,
sign.
scratch
Wrong
that.
sign. The big one is on.
This is where you need to play that music. Do, 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 do.
263.9.
Okay. Just a curiosity I
No,
had
no,
and what
no,
we're
good
working with the
question, yeah.
numbers here. And then as a follow-up to that, these signs, how are they going to be lit? Are they going to be backlit? Are they going to be lit from the front of the building onto them?
So
How's that
the
going to
the
work?
logo signs are box signs with lights inside of them, correct, Jeff? He's kind of our expert. Okay, and then the word signs that you play repeat are halo lit from behind.
Okay.
It
Correct,
is-
Jeff?
It is
Okay.
the 110.3 because the bigger sign would have been on the side where the,
Okay, so the variance is
Highway was.
110?
it would be 110.3.
Okay, so those signs facing the front,
Right.
facing Lowell Street would be 110.3.
Yes.
Okay.
The bigger one is on the side.
Yeah, I'm done.
But you could
So
also
I am
put
under
it
the
this
impression
way.
that you are on the agenda for the city council on February 14th for a special permit for another sign.
Well, it's our portal, correct, which is a design element.
Could you explain that to us, please?
Sure. So if you guys are looking at the renderings, it's the main doorway, and it's a 3-panel portal. That's the words we use. And so it is a lighted element with an EMC in the front. So again, we're using that at all of our locations. You guys see it over the front door. It's kind of a cockeyed doorway. Okay. So it's actually so the application here, it's all compressed. So it's really a series of metal frames that are lit. But our other locations, it's a much larger structure. So we've compressed this to be good neighbors, and also given the restrictions of the cement area in the front walkway. Okay. And so that element we control completely with the technology today. We can keep it one. Each frame can change colors. They can all be one color. They can be continuously lit the same color. They can change intermittently.
So what I'm looking at here, there's gray, blue, and lime green. And are you telling me that, like, it's going to flash?
Technology would allow us to, but that's not how we use it. So we typically tend to use, complementary colors, and they're standing for long periods of time. So so what you're describing is not pleasant to the eye. So we tend to just use it and change colors, and maybe every 10 minutes, things along those lines. But we'd have the ability to change. We could keep it one color all day. We could change it literally in a flashing motion as well. But
And the city council will determine that.
correct.
Right.
And again, that's an element that we're using in all our other buildings.
So I just have a question. So the archway that's gray, is it going to stay gray, or that gray can move to another color?
We can move to
also?
another color. So yeah.
So-
So any range of
so-
colors, they're RGB.
So Las Vegas, here we come.
That's not our intention.
If it flashes and it changes colors and you have, yeah, come on out to the front.
Well, just so you guys know is that, our intention is to always be a good neighbor and toe the line of what each municipality likes to see. And so we have the flexibility and the variability to please whatever kind of the township requires. We think it's an important element, and, but we're very confident that if we were to use it and people weren't happy with the application or the way we're using it, we can modify our usage to make people happy.
I have a question for you. Would you put this size over on the other thing and not to put 30 feet out, so you get another 40 square foot?
Well,
And go for 3 wall signs?
yes, so we have some flexibility in this sign package. I mean, we're here, we think they're all important to the branding and to building the business. Just to put people in from a financial perspective, we effectively need to double the business of what Bonkers has been doing historically, just to make financial sense for us as the operator and investor, and then also for Mr. Yeba. So my point is that we need to drive business so people to know we're there.
Once again, that freestanding sign right on Lowell Street.
And we have divided the sign on Lowell by a third, and we're willing to lose more of that and keep the signage on the building.
Point of
I will say
information.
that.
Point of information. I'm getting signals here. When you speak directly into the
Oh, sure, sure.
microphone. And Madam Chairman, when you speak, put your
I
microphone on.
apologize. So what I was saying is that we've reduced the pylon sign that has come up several times here by a third. From a importance to the business, I would be willing to reduce the pylon sign portion that we currently occupy to get the signage variance we want on the building. We think it's more important, and we think it's more visible. So just wanted to throw that out there as an option. Any other questions for me?
Would you reduce this? Because that one's 223 square feet on the side of the building.
Sorry, I thought I was loud enough. Anybody from the audience to speak in favor? In favor? Anybody in the audience to speak in opposition? Opposition? Okay.
Can I ask a question? Would you, before, like, saying being denied for the whole thing, because obviously we need additional square footage to just at least get it on the front of the building, would you look at other, like, say you have the in the game on the side of the building, but put them both the same size? Instead of the 223 on the side, put, the 40.4, and maybe take the eat, play, repeat heat off the side of the building, but at least have the in the game, you know. So before we, you know, instead of being denied, is there some, you know, something that we can discuss, that's all?
Certainly, I mean, I mean, you're here on this application. You can, correct me if I'm wrong, Carla, but you can always scale back what you've applied for and ask
Okay.
for less. And so that would be permissible here if something you did want to continue and come back with a different plan. And just at least speaking from my perspective on, I know you've kind of walked into something here where there's a long history behind this building and these signs, et cetera, with the city of the last number of years, is that it's, there's a lot being asked for here. And there's obviously a perception that you may not need quite as much as you're asking for. So if I can't tell you what to do, but if you feel like this is not the right way to head this, not the right direction to head in, you may want to consider ramping back a little bit and maybe revisit and continue this for a smaller amount of signage if possible. And you can always come back at another meeting or the next meeting and bring that proposal to us as well.
No, I would, not knowing the complete process, what's the best way to go about this, my preference would be to try to gauge the group here, you know, the zoning board, to get a sense of, if you're asking me, I would like to have it all. And I don't want to give up something that maybe everybody else in the group doesn't feel that way. I'd like to leave here with a plan because we have a grand opening on March 15th, and we've got 20 days to appeal this, correct? Isn't that the process? And so the signs are effectively being done fabricated right now. So I'd rather know what I'm doing as opposed to coming back. Well, I can use these signs anywhere I want. We've got multiple locations, so I'm not putting you in a spot saying that we've got a financial commitment, so decide with me.
And I guess just so that you're fully aware, is that if you were to proceed today, and you know, we're all individual votes, so as long as you get 4 out of the 5,
Okay.
you make it through. But if you were to not make it through, the appeal would probably be your only option, since you wouldn't be able to substantially change this plan enough, most likely, to come back with a new plan for us. So it's not my call, it's your call. I'm just one voice in the board, but it's up to you ultimately, but those would be your options.
Okay. And so, and then maybe this isn't the right,
But you can either reduce it,
okay?
like say, get rid of this big sign on the side, get rid of this, put 2 of these, you know what I mean?
This one's fine.
Through the chair, I'll give you my opinion, to be honest
Sure.
with you, okay?
I'd rather hear people's ideas. Help me out here, guys, so I don't, you know what I
I'll be honest,
want.
I think you made a pretty big investment there. It's a pretty large building. And I don't think the size of your signs are very unreasonable at all, based on the size of the building. We're looking for relief from the sign ordinance, but I happen to know from past experience that there's a pretty vocal group of residents that abut that, well, not quite abut it, but they're pretty close to it, that if they had any problems with it, would be here en masse, okay? And I don't see them. I don't see them. I don't think the signs will be egregious facing 95. I don't see where it's going to bother any other businesses, any other residents, or anything like that. And to be honest with you, you're set back, you know? Is it difficult to see from Lowell Street? Yeah, it is. I'll give you that, okay? So I don't think, based on what you're doing there, that the signs are going to be a real big problem. So as I see it,
I appreciate what you're saying, and I would say we've gone out of our way to not try to offend the residents behind us and on the side by not putting these signs on those sides of the buildings.
yeah, because my first question was going to be, until I looked at your picture, what's the front of the building? Because I needed to know where that sign was going to be. And I think, Mr. Zelotes, it's all up to the lighting. How are you going to light these things, okay? I don't really, I know that the city council will do their due diligence when you go before them for that, I don't know, portal sign. So I'm not really worried about that. You know, they'll vet that out pretty well, I'm pretty sure. So I'll give you my opinion. I have no problem with the signs the way they are right now. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to move forward and ask for your opinion as submitted. Unless you guys somebody else wants to give their opinion.
Nope. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing then.
before that, Kevin, through the chair, if I may, just to further the discussion a little bit, Barry, is it within our purview to condition the way that these 4 signs that are being applied for are lit and for how long? Because I understand that the eat, play, repeat signs will be backlit, but there was some talk of the colors changing on the in the game sign, and I just, is this a 24/7, situation, or I'd like to know, is this going to be lit 24 hours? Does it shut off when the building closes? Just have some questions as to what it looks like at night in all hours.
So, thank you for that question. So, just to clarify, so the in the game main logo does not change colors. Only the portal would change colors down by the door, which is another conversation. The light, the quality of light, the brightness of the eat, play, repeat is very low. It's only accented, okay? And then the in the game logo is not an overwhelming sign either. So as far as how we would use it, we're completely open to suggestions. So we have no problem turning the in the game logo off if that's what you guys want. So when we're done with business hours, we would turn it off. That's not an issue for us. We're going to have the liquor. We have a full liquor license there. I think it's maybe, Al, maybe you know better than me, but I think we have till 1 o'clock, or what is the license turn off? Okay, so that's probably be our expectation on Friday, Saturday, or midnight. We'll kind of see what the business offers, but we would have no issue turning all the lights off the building, these signs, and then just keep the wall washers on. There's the safety, the lights and things along those lines. Is that helpful for you, sir?
Yes, it is. I'd be more inclined to vote in favor if we had some condition on when we're shutting it down.
We are open to those conditions, and so we're open to a conditional approval, okay? So I'm willing to go forward if that's...
Okay, can I try again? I make a motion to close the public hearing. Do I have a second? Second by Mr.
Roll call vote. Oh,
Going to make a motion to approve with the following condition or conditions, and that is that the eat, play, repeat signs and the in the game logo sign will not be lit after business hours, whatever those hours may be and whatever they're dictated to be by local and state licensure. Any additional? Yeah. And I guess that's just the additional condition is that those 4 signs are not to flash or anything like that front portal. Okay.
I'll second that motion to approve with the conditions.
now, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 I would have lost that bet. Thank you very much. We're looking forward to, if you guys need anything at all, just let us know, all right? Thank you.
Number 2, PGA Tour Superstore.
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Appeals of the City of Peabody will hold a public hearing on Monday, January 28th, 7 p.m., Wiggin Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, on the application of PGA Tour Superstore, care of Jillian Arsenal, for a variance from the provision of the zoning ordinance 2018 as amended section 1152, as it applies to the premises known as 210 Andover Street, Peabody, map 51, lot 7. Petitioners proposing a 345 square foot wall sign where 75 square feet are permitted. The property is located in a BR zoning district. The application and plot plan are available to the public. It can be viewed at the City Clerk's office and Board of Appeals office, City Hall, in advance and prior to the public hearing. The application and plot plan will also be available at the time of the public hearing.
Name and address?
Grant Michael. All right, sorry. Grant Michael, Walton Signage, from Nashua, New Hampshire. And I've got Katie DeSalt with me, one of my coworkers. So we're here for the PGA Superstore that just opened up, and we're asking for 345 square foot sign with the allowable 75 square feet. They moved into the old Toys R Us building, right by the North Shore Mall. And due to kind of their location, the setback from the road, and where they're located, and the size of the building, the 75 square foot sign is very small for visibility. We've got a board here, which I don't know if you want to pass around. It kind of gives a perspective.
Could you stand over
So you can kind of see the way that we had to lay this out with basically boxing in a whole rectangle. There is a lot of negative space. The old Toys R Us sign was about 222 square feet,
I can't see it.
and the setback's about 397 feet from the road to where the fascia of the building is, and it does not
So this is
face
to
any
scale.
public roadways. It actually faces in
This one is
towards
not
the mall
to scale.
development.
Okay. This one is to scale?
Yes. Yes.
Through the chair,
Yep.
is the billboard that you've brought into, with your presentation, is that 75 for a 74 square foot sign there now?
Yes.
Okay. Is the store open yet or no?
Yeah, they had to get something up for opening. They didn't want to have no sign for opening. They opened February 1st.
Okay.
So we just put it up because they wanted to get it up because they're trying to get employees in and hiring and stuff like that, recognition. So they opened it up February 1st. We put that up for the time being, but it's not really what they wanted, and it really doesn't give them great visibility from where they're located as far as being able to see what it is and readability as far as a viewing distance.
Okay, and the Toys R Us sign was 222 square feet?
Yeah, the letters themselves, the Toys R Us letters were about 6 foot tall letters. The PGA Superstore are really only about 3, the big letters only about 3 feet. So just, as a viewing distance standpoint, you can see that the letters are still a lot smaller, but it will give a much better vantage point for them to draw people from the mall, seeing that, and then also driving through that road.
Thank
So we're here tonight to
To get
ask for a
approved.
variance, yes.
Questions? Anybody from the audience to speak in favor? No golfers out there? Anybody to speak in opposition? Hearing none, the matter is before the board.
Just through the chair, is there anybody from the,
No.
I was just wondering what they were getting for Pro Vs, so. Okay, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Through the chair. Similar to the last application, how are you proposing this sign? I know we're in a much more commercial area here than the last one was, but how are you proposing this sign is going to be lit, and what are your hours of lighting going to be?
It's a face-lit sign, so those letters will light. And right now, we've got it where it would be on during operational hours, and then possibly like a couple hours before or after, depending on the light, just for visibility.
And what are your typical, I'm not holding you to this, but what are the usual hours of operation?
I don't know, but I'm
Probably
assuming
10
probably
o'clock
like
or so.
9:30, like a normal retail store, so. It does face into the mall too. It doesn't face any public or into any residences or any other ways, so it's an inward facing sign.
I'm all set.
Hearing no more questions, concern, the matter is before the board.
Motion to close public hearing? Motion to approve?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You are all set.
Thank you.
Sure. We have a request from Attorney Von Valita. We have request from Attorney Vonzalitis, which I am going to allow. There was a typographical error on the, you can come forward, on the notice that was in the newspaper. So we are going to allow Attorney Vonzalitis to ask for a continuance, I believe.
Not for continuance, I guess I'd have to withdraw and refile. My variance release was for 7,900 square feet versus 10,000 required, and it's my understanding the ad was published in the newspapers as 8,500. So I'd request to withdraw without prejudice, and then we'll refile.
Motion to approve council's request?
All in favor?
Aye.
And for people in the audience, this is for the application on 10 Chestnut Street.
So if you are here for 10 Chestnut Street, you can go home and watch TV because this is now not going to be heard this evening.
Thank you.
Okay. Number 3.
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Appeals of the City of Peabody will hold a public hearing on Monday, January 28, 2019, at 7 p.m. at Wiggin Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, on the application of Judith Dorville St. Fort, 10 Fairview Ave, Peabody, for a variance from the provisions of the zoning ordinance 2018, as amended Section 7.2, as it applies to the premises known as 10 Fairview Ave, map 120, lot 173, Peabody. Petitioners seek a variance to allow proposed addition and need relief to right side yard where 11.2 plus or minus is proposed and 15 feet are required. Left side yard of 6.2 plus or minus where 15 feet are required. The property is located in R1A zoning district. The application and plot plan are available to the public and can be viewed at the City Clerk's office and Board of Appeals, City Hall, in advance of the public hearing. Application and plot plan will also be available at the time of the public hearing.
Okay, as you exit, could you please be quiet because we're still hearing things? Thank you. Name and address for the record?
Good evening. My name is Judith Dorville St. Fort, and I live at 10 Fairview Avenue, Peabody, Mass. 01960. And the reason I'm here is to request a variance for an addition proposed 12 by 24.3.
So, this was a previously approved variance. The plot plan showed the incorrect dimensions, making the variance incorrect. So you are just here with complete honesty and want to make it correct. Is that correct? That is very nice. The dimensions were incorrect, and the contractor caught it.
Through the chair. The proposed addition, as drawn on the plan, it looks like it's going to be no closer to the property lot line, is that correct? Than the existing structure? And I'm looking at the survey from,
According to the surveyor, it's the same. The only problem was the size.
okay. Thank you.
Any questions by the board? Anybody in the audience to speak in favor? In opposition? Hearing none, the matter is before the board. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
The next one is number 4, and I am recusing myself. That gives Julie Picardi all voting rights.
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Appeals of the City of Peabody will hold a public hearing on Monday, January 28, 7 p.m., Wiggin Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, on the application of Rosa Del Sono, 20 Worcester Road, Peabody, for a variance from the provisions of the zoning ordinance 2018 as amended section 715, as it applies to the premises known as 20 Worcester Road, map 9, lot 134, Peabody. Petitioners seek a variance to allow proposed shed and need relief to rear yard setback, where 8 feet plus or minus is proposed and 10 feet are required. Property is located in R1 zoning district. The application and plot plan are available for review at the City Clerk and Board of Appeals Office, City Hall, and will be available at the time of public hearing.
Good evening. My name is Rosa Del Sono, 20 Worcester Road, seeking a variance for a shed that we built. It's 8 feet away from the property line. What we did is we replaced an existing shed. We put it in the same exact location where the existing shed was. So we honestly didn't think that we needed a variance, and then go to find out that we need relief of 2 feet.
Stephen, through you as vice chair. Just a question, a couple of questions, actually. You said that you've already built the shed.
Yes.
How did you come to find out that you did need a variance?
So the inspector came, we got a letter, or we got a call that they needed to come out and look at it.
Okay. And the shed that was there previously, it seems to have been a smaller size shed.
Yes.
The shed that's built now
Yes.
is, I believe, roughly 12 by 24?
Yes, yes.
And the existing shed was 12 by 12, roughly?
It was smaller, yes.
Okay. But it's 8 feet from the property line?
Yes.
Is there a reason why you're 8 feet and you didn't?
So it came forward, but it's 8 feet away from the property line.
Okay.
But because in front we have a pool with a walkway and steps, so we couldn't bring it, further up.
You couldn't bring it because of the pool?
Yeah, there's a walkway and steps that come down from the pool because the land slopes to the property line.
Okay.
So that was the flattest part of the yard, where the shed is located now.
So did you not move it up 10 feet from the line because you didn't think you had to, or because you couldn't?
Well, we put it exactly where the existing shed was, so we didn't think there was an issue, honestly, didn't think there was going to be a problem.
Who built the shed?
My husband and my son.
Are they in construction?
No, they just know
Okay.
information.
You say there's nowhere else to put this here, the shed. It looks on the plan like then there's a decent amount of space between the pool and the shed. Or what's going on in that whole area that the shed couldn't be just 2 feet further forward?
There wasn't enough room because where the pool is, there's the walkway all around, and then there's a couple of steps that come down because the land slopes, and then there's a walkway. So the shed right now is right up to the walkway. We couldn't bring it any further. And there's trees and bushes.
Was the shed built in that spot, or was it constructed and then located in the
No, it was built there.
Through the chair, if I could. Something's not watching with me, okay? You tore down a 12 by 12 shed,
Right.
all right? Yet you chose to build a 12 by 24 shed because you say there's a hardship that you didn't have because of steps and slope. Well, if the 12 by 12 fit there, then maybe a 12 by 14, 16, 18 would have fit there to give you your 2 extra feet. So
But-
what you're saying doesn't make sense to me.
So.
If
so-
you don't have the land and there's a problem with slope, I would investigate the ordinance to make sure that if I was going to build a shed, I would build it in compliance with the ordinance. I'll be honest, I don't know if it was an honest mistake. All right? I don't know if it was. To me, it seems like I'm going to build it. I'm going to build it the size I want. And then I'm going to, if no one catches it, no one catches it. And you know something? If you catch it, oh well, the shed is there.
Through the chair.
I'm
There
not
is no
buying
chair.
it.
There is no chair. Stephen's the chair today. So the difference of the size of the shed didn't make it any less compliant. It was still 8 feet from the back to the property. So that must mean it's wider to the sides. Doesn't really matter, as far as I'm concerned. It was already a non-conforming shed, and, I don't think, I haven't been on the board where the enforcement of a shed, because there's no foundation, there's nothing there, right? It's just on the ground and there.
Right.
So if we were to enforce every shed in the city of Peabody, we'd be here for a long time enforcing that. So again, I don't see, quite frankly, I can see the hardship, because one of the hardships we're supposed to look at is topography. The topography of the land does not allow for it to come closer to the house or closer to be compliant. Making it smaller doesn't make it any more compliant either. So again, I don't quite see it the same way others might, but I'm just saying that, it was 8 feet, it's still 8 feet. There's no additional harm, and I really think because the topography and the flatness of the land, that it is a hardship compared to what we've done in the past.
Kevin and Stephen, if I may, further that discussion, I think that the problem is where the shed was taken down and a new shed was built, as opposed to a shed that had been there previously that was non-conforming. Once you take something down, if you tear down a house, you tear down a structure, it's, you're starting from scratch. And when you're going to build something, you should be aware of, what you're building and if you're in compliance. And also, the petition, when it talks about why you need a variance and what your hardship is, I don't know that they get into, they say the land slopes from the pool to the property line, but, it's not really too descriptive as to why it couldn't be moved. And I would ask the petitioner, is it possible for the shed to be moved as it's currently constructed? Would you be able to pick it up and move it so that you're in compliance and you don't need the variance? Seems like there's a lot of land there.
No, I don't think we can move it. The shed is big, but we cannot move it forward. It can't, I don't see how that can be done. It's a large shed. And we don't have the space as well. There's a walkway and there's steps there.
Again, through the chair, so, maybe we should hear from the audience before we continue this conversation. Because what I see in the package is a lot of support. I don't see a lot of opposition.
Yeah, I went to all my neighbors and got signatures. Yes.
Is there anybody in the audience looking to speak in favor of this petition? Is there anybody speaking in opposition to this petition? Okay, so hearing none, it's back before us.
Just a comment, Stephen, on the signatures, and I think it's good that you talk to your neighbors, but I think the problem is, and I know that we've tried to get the message out, and Fran does when, at the beginning of every hearing, is it's a lot easier for us as a board to vote on something when you have discussed a project with your neighbors. However, in this situation, you went to the neighbors, it appears, after the shed was built, not prior to support your variance request, but after the construction of the shed, as far as I can tell.
So we went to the neighbor behind us, and that's the only one that it would affect if it affected anyone, because it's not up against the fence or anything, and he said he didn't, we did talk to him beforehand. He said it didn't bother him one bit, because the previous shed was in the same exact place, so.
And which neighbor is this? Is this one of the neighbors that did sign?
Stefano, he's on Hampshire.
Thank you.
Just a couple more questions, all right? You say your son and your husband built the shed, and they're not in the building, they're not contractors, or they don't?
So my husband is not a
Well,
contractor.
what about your son?
My son is, but
Well, he should know better.
So, you know, this was really my mistake.
So,
It was my decision because I honestly did not think where there was one existing there, that it was considered new structure. We already had an existing structure there.
and, you know.
I
just
see
for the
that
sake of
now.
this,
No,
all
I
right.
see that now. I'm sorry.
Right.
I understand that
You didn't build
now.
on the same footprint. You built a shed that's twice as big
It's
as
wider.
the existing footprint, all right? You have, one of the person that built the shed is in the construction business. He knows what the what the regulations are, all right? Yeah, you went to the rear neighbor because that's the only guy it's going to affect, right? Because you knew you were going to build that shed on that 8-foot line. And I, you know, the size of the shed is immaterial. What I have a problem with is when you have a contractor, all right, who blatantly chooses not to follow the rules. I have a problem with that, okay? So you could say it was a mistake, you could say it was this, you could say it was that, but the point of the matter is, you know, he knew what he was doing, and he built that shed, and he built it without coming for a variance. He had a he had a non-conforming shed. He's a contractor. He had a perfect reason now to bring that shed in your yard into conformance by moving it 2 more feet. He chose not to do that.
So, through the chair,
That's my problem with this whole thing.
Through the-
I don't care about this. Just
through
let me
the-
finish, Kevin. I don't care about the size. I don't care about anything else. What bothers me is someone in the business chose to blatantly not follow the rules. And I have a problem with that. If you told me, no, he's not a contractor, and he dropped it by mistake 2 feet short, fine. He's a contractor. He knows what he's doing, or he should. I just have a problem with it. Kevin, you might not.
and I certainly don't, but I learned something a long time ago. You do what your mother tells you to do. And you know what? There is a greater law in this Commonwealth. It's, honor your mom and dad. But again, this is the craziest thing to me because it really starts to sway me on the other things that we've approved over the years that I've been on this board, and that we're apparently, because we have 5 commissioners and we need 5 votes, right, or 4 votes. You only need 4. Okay. Again, it's I'm most sensitive to consistency. So again, I can make a motion to close the public hearing. Okay.
Before, not to beat the dead horse, but I do want to make the distinction before I make my vote in that, yes, we have approved similar projects, but we've approved them before they've been built. And that's where I think it's different. I'll just say that. If you want to make your motion, make your motion. Second. Second. No. I think it's in the building commissioner's hands.
All set? Thank you.
Number 6.
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Appeals of the City of Peabody will hold a public hearing on Monday, January 28th, 7 p.m., Wiggin Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, on the application of Mary T. Rogers, 17 Goodrich Street, Peabody, from an administrative appeal from the provision of the zoning ordinance 2018 as amended Section 1562 as it applies to the premises known as 13 Goodrich Street, Peabody, map 103, lot 53. Petitioner seeks an administrative appeal of a letter dated December 3rd, 2018, from the City of Peabody Building Commissioner Al Tellerico. The property is located in an R1A zoning district. The application and plot plan are available to the public and can be viewed at the City Clerk's Office and Board of Appeals Office, City Hall, in advance and prior to the public hearing. The application and plot plan will also be available at the time of the public hearing.
Good evening. My name is Mary Rogers, and I live at 17 Goodrich Street. Next to me is 13 Goodrich Street. If you're standing on the street, it's to my right. Would be to your right. There were plans drawn up for a family accessory living area, and it is roughly twice the size that is allowed by the zoning ordinance. So I'm seeking for the zoning board to enforce what the code says. When you look at 6.7.2, it uses the word shall, and that's the key thing here, is that the accessory living area shall not exceed the lesser of 700 square feet.
I don't want to interrupt you, but what exactly are you here on that you are concerned with the whole petition, or are you concerned with wording?
The petition, there was no variance ever sought to do what they were doing. And there is no variance that can be given for it. So I filed, it's not exactly like an appeal from a variance, it's an appeal from, I wrote to the building commissioner and brought to his attention that it wasn't a conservation area, and the conservation agent was not notified that this project was going to take place. But in addition to that, the fala is supposed to be half the size of the house, or 700 feet, whichever is the lesser. So they are making a structure that's double, almost double, what's allowed by the zoning ordinance. And so I also am a lawyer. I probably should have said that. So in constructing the zoning ordinance, you look at the word shall, and it says it shall be either half the size of the existing house or 700 square feet, whichever is the lesser. And I did put that in the petition within.
Through the chair, I'm confused. So this isn't your property, you're not looking for an appeal to the zoning, you're trying to look for an enforcement order?
Exactly.
I don't think we do that. That's not our board, right?
Well, I think what we have to do tonight is either uphold the decision of the building commissioner or not. And why? Because it's before us.
Yes, I am a person aggrieved. I live next to the property. I'm a direct abutter. And it has been affecting my property in that the water has been going into my shed, whereas before it would go below. And I'm not saying it never went into my shed, but it's coming up higher. So my shed will be gone in 2 years versus 20 years have the same amount of damage. And it's also a wetland area, and if
Okay, so your main opposition is that water on your property. Because conservation is an entity in itself. So the building commissioner has approved the applicant to go ahead and build the Fowler.
Yes.
He has approved that. So realistically speaking, I have great faith in Mr. Tellerico. I'm sure that he did all his homework and paperwork and site visits and everything else when he granted this variance applicant. So I just need to make sure that we stick to the subject, and your main concern right now is water.
No, that's not my only concern. In the zoning appeal, if you turn to the second to the last and the third to last pages, those are from the architectural drawings that are online. So what was being done here is adding what they call joint space.
Common area.
Right, and that's not allowed to expand the size of the fala by doing that. So on the two last pages.
Okay, excuse me. Barry, go ahead.
Through the chair, if I could, okay? I certainly understand why you're here, because Mr. Tallarico said your next recourse would be to appeal his decision to the Zoning Board of Appeals. But on the Fowler, it does exclude common area. It is allowed under the Fowler. Now, what I may be saying is the addition exceed the time? Maybe it does, all right? But to me, I would talk to Mr. Tallarico and ask him, how did you derive at the square footage of the actual Fowler? If they don't need zoning relief, that addition can be as big as they want it to be. They don't need relief. They come within zoning. If within that addition, they want to add a Fowler, then that's up to the building inspector to determine the square footage of the actual Fowler, which can include common area, and it would not count towards the square footage of the Fowler, okay? So, and I understand why you're here, and I appreciate that you're here. But the truth of the matter is, when situations like this come up, we go to the people who we trust, make the right decisions. And in this case, it's the building inspector, all right? He does this stuff. He issued the building permits. He's in charge of Fowlers. Used to be our friends on the city council. It's not like that anymore, okay? It's the building inspector. So he determines that square footage. And he might have, it might be worth a call to him. How did you determine that Fowler, explain to me what's the Fowler, if there any common area, what's the size of the addition? I think you just, maybe the numbers might be just skewed a little bit, all right? But, you know, if you want me to uphold, I'm going to vote to uphold his decision, because he's the person who I depend on to regulate Fowlers, to regulate building, and believe me, I don't have the expertise that he has when it comes to buildings. So I understand why you're here, but to me, I have no choice but to hold up his decision. It's just my opinion. Thank you.
Going to the dimensions, the second to last and third to last pages, I'm going by the architecture's measurements here, and they list the Fowler as being 6.75.9, and then joint space as 330.3. So that added together for the Fowler is 1,000 6.2.
The common area does not count as the square footage of the Fowler.
Well, going directly to that, in the zoning ordinance, common area, common space within a fala is defined as any space routinely used by both parties, not exclusive to one party. It uses the word within fala, not extra to fala.
But are you living in that house?
No,
So you don't know where that common living space is?
I do, according to what is on the plan here, on the second to last and third to last pages here. It doesn't give the square footage of the existing house. I was able to figure that out by the third to last, where it says the total footprint is 2,125. So when that is subtracted, the combination is over 1,000. The current house is 1119.4. So if you divide that by 2, you come up with 559.6. It's over by 465.5. I mean,
through the
zoning
chair-
has to be complied with.
So again, through the chair, I agree with Member Osgood that we rely upon the people who actually look at the plans and do the measurements. I'm sure you're pretty good at deciphering what is and what isn't based off a plan that you picked up somewhere. But I think we should look to see who's in favor or opposed to this petition.
I didn't, just to clarify, I didn't just pick it up. I went online and I got, those are architect's plans from the city website.
Are you an architect? Are you a building inspector? I know you're a lawyer, just wanted to make sure that,
Oh.
that, you know, that,
No, I
You know,
don't wear that hat, but
Okay, all right, you know what? I know where this is going, and you know, we've read and we've gone through everything that we have in front of us. We know you have great concerns on water, on the size. Other than those two aspects and a little bit of the wording, if there's nothing else pertinent, I think we should take a vote. Are you okay with that?
Sure, would I be able to come back?
Yeah. Anybody in the audience to speak in favor? Anybody in the audience to speak in opposition?
Good evening. My name is John Kelty. I'm an attorney. I have offices at 40 Lowell Street in Peabody, Massachusetts. And I think that the members of the board have characterized, when I appear on behalf of Steve Gregosian and Neva Gregosian, who are the owners of the property that is in question this evening. We are here to say that we would ask that the board uphold the decision of the building inspector. The building commissioner has actually visited this issue on 2 or 3 times. When it first came to light that there was opposition from a neighbor, he went back and did the calculations again. He has come to the conclusion that the Fala area, exclusive of any common areas, is 675 square feet, which would put it well within the area that is approvable as a Fala. So in the absence of any kind of disputing evidence, perhaps from an architect, perhaps from engineer, perhaps from utilization of the definitions in which there was an actual dispute about this 675.9 square feet, which is Fala, I think that the building inspector can and should be upheld for lack of evidence to the contrary. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Okay, if you have any other quick comments.
I do point you to the places within the zoning ordinance and also in the definitions that also correspond to that in terms of
And
what...
you have to remember, take into consideration, we've been doing this, and we all know, we know that. We know our laws, we know our ordinances.
I mean, things can be a matter of interpretation, and
No, zoning laws and zoning ordinances are not matter of interpretation. They're what they are, and we know them.
And if I may, through the chair, just that while we're a board that the zoning issues come before, a lot of what you're bringing up are truly questions of law, interpretation of the statute, interpretation of the zoning ordinances. And what we have before us is a plan that shows 675.9 square feet of FALA space. Now, whether they are actually using that for the purposes they've represented they have to the city and to the building commissioner versus what you're telling us those are issues of fact that would have to be decided and determined by a fact finder. And we are not a fact finding board in that respect. We have to look at what's brought, especially in an administrative appeal. We have to look what's brought before us to make a determination on the evidence we have before us, which is the plans that we have, the plans from the city, and what you've presented to us. And absent anything else, while you may very well have a case, it might be just that, a case for appeal to the Superior Court. Because what we're seeing, what I'm looking at here at least, is something that says 675.9 square feet, and information from Attorney Kelty, who represents these people, and information from the building commissioner that is all that's actually being used for the purposes of the FALA. So I'm not saying you don't have anything here, but it's just, I think before us, I think you've exhausted your remedy.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
We're going to take a vote on this.
Motion to uphold the building commissioner's decision would be uphold it, and no would be rejected.
Roll call vote.
Second the motion. Yes, uphold.
Yes, uphold.
Yes, uphold it. Number 7, Charles Odette, 72 Goodale Street.
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Appeals of the City of Peabody will hold a public hearing on Monday, January 28, 7 p.m., Wiggin Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, on the application of Charles Odette for a variance from the provision of the zoning ordinance 2018 as amended Section 7.2, as it applies to the premises known as 72 Goodale Street, Peabody, map 18, lot 42. Petitioner is proposing an addition and needs relief to the left side yard where 8 plus or minus feet are proposed and 20 feet are required. Property is located in R1 zoning district. The application and plot plan are available to the public and can be viewed at the City Clerk's office and Board of Appeals office, City Hall, in advance and just prior to the public hearing. The application and plot plan will also be available at the time of the public hearing.
Good evening. My name's Charles Odette, 72 Goodale Street, West Peabody, and I have with me my general contractor, Tracy Cronin of Cronin Construction Management, Inc. He'll be able to answer any questions that I cannot. I'm here to seek a variance for my side yard relief from 20 feet down to 8 feet for a 2-car garage that I would like to attach to the existing structure.
Just because I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this. Why choose that location and not directly off the rear of the building for the new construction?
There's no access from the rear. There's 6 houses in the back side of that.
Okay.
Right now, there's existing concrete structure retaining wall that's there on the property existing right now that they cut out just to get the existing driveway in now.
Just have to, with 50 feet behind it, I just have to ask.
Yeah, no problem.
Yep.
No.
So you're,
That would be a great idea if we could do it.
Yeah.
Be a lot easier.
so you are almost directly across the street from Helen Drive.
Directly across the street.
Hi, Tracy.
How you doing? Which I built Helen Drive.
You built the house? Is that what you said?
I built 5 houses on Helen Drive right there.
We're not interested.
We know that street.
Okay, we all set? Any questions here? Anybody in the audience to speak in favor? Anybody to speak in opposition? Hearing none, the matter is before the board.
Second. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nice to see you.
Same here, same here.
Thank you very much.
Second.
My book, Barry, my book.
Yeah.